Okay, hello everybody. Great to see you. Nice crowd. Hey. Okay, so this you're very, very welcome to the Portsmouth Symphony's winter concert here in the beautiful music hall. Someone reminded me this morning that it's the Ides of March. And yesterday was Pi Day, and Friday was Friday the 13th, so if you're superstitious, you probably shouldn't be here. Anyway, yeah, great concert, really exciting, love this concert, the orchestra loves this concert, we're so happy that we can present this for you, looking forward to it. American voices. So, I mean, there's a few things I've been wanting to do for a long time, and one of them is the Rhapsody in Blue, but I wanted to make it contextual, make it a little bit more than just a popsy piece, which is normally how you hear it, right, in a pop's concert. So I paired it with, or tripled it with a piece by Jessie Montgomery, African-American composer, contemporary, and Florence, who was a black woman composer, early 20th century. And I could have chosen American voices. I could have chosen a whole lot of composers, right? Really, ultimately, you could go with Copeland, you could go with Bernstein, you could go with Barber, etc., etc., etc. But there's something about the combination of these three that really grabbed me, and it's that without Gershwin, there really probably wouldn't have been the price in the way that we know it, or she might not have had the confidence to do what she did, which is kind of amazing. She was the first African-American woman composer to be performed by a major symphony orchestra, which was the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Groundbreaking. All these three pieces are really groundbreaking. Yeah, so Gershwin, taking his influence from a lot of things, the blues, the jazz, the spirituals, the African-American traditions as well, going into the price. And then you've got Jessie Montgomery, who wrote this piece in 2012, Starburst. And you can't help but think that Jessie, who's an incredibly gifted, talented, a confident young composer, you can't help but think that she wouldn't be where she is today without the work of Florence Price. So there's a continuity that goes through this, which I really like. Yeah, and groundbreaking. You know, all three pieces just, I mean, literally, the Starburst is escaping from the earth. It's groundbreaking. The Rhapsody in Blue was first entitled American Rhapsody, and it was part of the experiment in modern music. And that was totally groundbreaking at the time, 1924. And then along comes Florence Price, and she writes this symphony in 1933, which just kind of blew people away. So yeah, we're fresh pieces that we are going to present today, and what I'd love for you to hear these things for the first time in their context. So first up is Jessie. Oh, I should also point out, of course, I kind of thought of this and planned it, but February is Black History Month, and March is Women's History Month. So I thought I would combine those two things together and present, two black women composers as well, bookending this concert. And I wanted to play a really substantial piece by a black woman composer, which is the Price, which is 40 minutes long. I mean, I'll be honest, normally when orchestras play underrepresented composers, you get a 3 or 4 minute piece, and then out comes Tchaikovsky. Nothing wrong with Tchaikovsky, because when you come back in May, you're going to hear Tchaikovsky. But I wanted the idea of tokenism, I just wanted to get away from that, and I want to present something substantial. And it is a fabulous piece. It absolutely deserves to be where it is, and I hope you go away today thinking that as well. Most major orchestras now have it right center of their repertoires, which is absolutely correct. Yeah, Starburst, Jessie. So, what I love about Jessie Montgomery, and I've done quite a few of her pieces, is just the sheer confidence that she has in what she's doing. She's a Juilliard-trained violinist, incredibly talented musician, and you get the feeling she just writes exactly what she wants to write. She isn't trying to satisfy any kind of agenda or whatever. She's just a composer in the 21st century writing music, and that is fantastic. She has no boundaries. She doesn't see any barriers in her way. She just plows ahead. And for a black woman composer, that's fantastic. It's exactly the way it should be, right? So her first piece, the first piece we're playing is this piece called Starburst. This is 3 minutes long, but it is such an incredibly energetic piece. And what she was trying to do in this, and it was written in 2012 for a group called Sphinx Ensemble, which is a group of virtuosi strings. What she was trying to do is just show off lots of different string techniques in the piece. So strings can do all sorts of things, right? What we're used to is you put bow on string, you draw the bow, you make a sound. But there's also, of course, you've got pizzicato, you've got sul ponticello, which is, ponticello means little bridge, right, in Italian, so it's the bridge that the strings go over. If you put the bow close to that bridge, you get a different sound. It goes from being ah to ooh. It gets a really nasal kind of sound, and she plays with that as well, and harmonics, lots of harmonics and things. So there's a lot of technical stuff that she builds into this piece. And here's what she said about it herself. This brief one-movement work for string orchestra is a play on imagery of rapidly changing musical colours. Exploding gestures are juxtaposed with gentle, fleeting melodies in an attempt to create a multi-dimensional soundscape. A common definition of a starburst, I'm not sure it's so common because it's basically, we're talking to, space kind of sounds. The rapid formation of large numbers of new stars in a galaxy at a high rate, enough to alter the structure of the galaxy significantly. I'm not sure it's a common definition, but yeah, that's what that means. And it lends itself almost literally to the nature of the performing ensemble who premiered the work, the Sphinx Virtuosi. And they wrote the piece with their dynamic in mind. So it's a virtuosic piece. And it has that exploding quality, it has all these different elements to it. And I'm going to make no attempt to try and play it on the piano, because I don't think it's worth it, so I'm going to leave it, that little 3-minute opener, it's a little overture. I'm going to just leave it for you guys to experience, but it is an exceptional little opening piece. And I'm really glad that we have it in our program. So, coming up next, we have the very famous Gershwin Rhapsody in Blue. Again, written in 1924. And it was originally called American Rhapsody, and it was his brother Ira suggested, having seen some artwork, that maybe we should call it Rhapsody in Blue. A play on the color, but obviously also blues, the element of that. And this is really an attempt, or a response to the idea that jazz was limited. At the time, jazz was very much just a structured thing. You got a beat, you got a band, you played a song for about 3 or 4 minutes, and that was it. And Gershwin felt, and Paul, who was Whitemore was the presenter for it. They felt that there should be something a little bit more expansive. We should be talking about this music in a different way, which is how he came across this piece. And it is this kind of mix between improvisation and structure. So you have a lot of the piano doing a lot of just noodling and introversive kind of just thought going on. And then you have the orchestra comes in and it's really structured and rhythmic. And there's the contrast between these two things that create the structure of the piece. And I think that's why it was so successful, is because it was a real marriage between these two ideas. And actually, two other facts. This came to Gershwin when he was on a train from New York to Boston. He got on the train, and the motion of the train and the noise of the train led him to come up with a lot of the themes that you hear in the piece. So there is that kind of like sense of motion in a machine as well as part of it. And I had another thought. Oh yes, the originality that you find comes at the very, very beginning. This is where the groundbreaking begins. Because even in jazz and even in blues, you didn't get this. The very opening glissando thing. He wrote it just as a scale. I can't replicate it too well here, so I've got a real treat for you.
I don't know about that.
I'm going to invite my wonderful friend, an incredibly virtuosic clarinet player, who plays this in the concert. And this is John Ferraro, and he's going to want to say a few words about what this is. Okay, we're going to play first, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay.
That's the way he wrote it. Okay?
Right.
So, I'll take the mic. So that's the way he wrote it, and it was no glissando, it was just a giant scale, which would make every clarinet player's life so much easier and less terrifying and stressful. But Ross Gorman was the clarinetist in the whiteboard band, and he was just messing around with it. He was a jazz clarinetist, and Gershwin heard it, and Gershwin's like, oh, that sounds really cool, and we've suffered ever since. So I'm gonna play it. I'm not gonna play it like I'm gonna do it in a concert, because I don't wanna give it completely away, but I'm gonna play it the way he played it, the opening, and it is very different than how you usually hear it. And I guess the thing that makes this really challenging is you're doing something that clarinet really isn't designed to do. And it's all about air pressure, your reed being flexible, and just kind of owning it. So basically you have to like kind of slowly pull your fingers off the holes, and as you slowly uncover them and use your air, you get that connected glissando sound. So I'm gonna play it kind of the way it was originally done. And it is not the same as the way it'll be up there and the way you normally hear it. So he went like really slow on the bottom part, and then really exaggerated it, which makes it way more challenging to do. So I think most modern clarinet players kind of mix the two to create that effect. So I'll play it up there in the actual concert.
Thanks, John. It's not that hard.
Here you go. I'll conduct.
All right. You're okay. You're earning your money today. Okay, well done. Yeah, so that's the opening theme. It just starts that way. I mean, it's already completely something that's never been heard before. Borrowing, a classical scale, and suddenly you're doing this crazy glissando up to the top, and all these blues and jazz influences. So they're basically five themes in the piece, and then they're played around with in between by the pianist. And I've got to mention our soloist, because of course John is the first soloist that you hear, but it is a piano piece. It's basically a piano concerto. And we have the wonderful Mike Effenberger from local to the area, Soggy Po Boys, right? Mike teaches them PMAC. This guy can cover anything, which is why I really kind of was drawn to him. You know, he's at home in jazz, he's at home in blues, he's at home in bluegrass, he's at home just in musical theatre. He can do anything, and classical, because he was classically trained. What? What?
Gospel.
Oh, and gospel, okay. Awesome. Gospel as well. So he's across the board. He's one of these musicians, and if you talk to musicians and you're experienced enough, after a while, music is just music. You know, we talk about all these different genres and we try and make distinctions between things, but you start seeing a lot of the connections between the different kinds of music, and you just become a musician, like a fully rounded, formed musician. And that's Mike. And he has taken on this project, and he was so willing to take it on. He said, sure, I'll do that. And it's a little bit outside of his wheelhouse, but he's been trained as a classical musician, and he's got all of the other stuff there, so he knew he could do it. And he brings this incredibly thoughtful performance. I've never heard anyone do it the way he does it, and I love it. He has thought about every single note, and he then presents it in a way as if he's just made it up. It's a magical thing. And it does go back to Gershwin, because on the first performance, there's a spot where we have to wait for a long time in the orchestra just when the piano's doing its own thing, and there was a spot where Gershwin was just making stuff up, and he just turned to the conductor who was white-pointing. He just said, "I'll give you a nod." Go. So, I mean, even from the very first moment, the improvisational quality of this piece was just crucial. It's now all written down, but Mike brings that idea back, that concept, that improvisational culture or quality back to it, and you'll hear it, and the contrast is just so awesome. So it's a very, very vivid performance. You're going to love it. I'll just quickly go through the other themes in the Gershwin, and then leave it to you to hear from John to Mike to the rest of the orchestra. So we've heard the first theme, Miss John just played. Then there's another theme. There's this. Here's the trumpet. A lot of rhythm behind. This is known as the train theme, right? This is him on the train, hearing all of that. Then there's the theme which kind of ends the whole thing, but it's the. All these major chords. So that's again, it comes from the shuffle, but it has that kind of. Another theme is the. So blues, right? So you get this. Right, you get the flattened third. It's in D major. So again, playing with those bluesy notes. There's not a lot of, I'll be honest, there's not a lot of that kind of bluesy sevenths and thirds, but they do exist. They're here, and very much part of what Gershwin was trying to do and where he came from. And then there's the the wonderful middle section, which his brother told him was one of the best melodies he ever wrote. Really simple song. And you hear it very gently, and then it builds up and has a very romantic quality to it. So those are basically the 5 themes you hear in the whole piece. They get chopped up, they get played at different tempos, different orchestrations. Sometimes you hear a piano alone, sometimes with orchestra. So very, very much an experiment, but one that went incredibly right. And it made Gershwin a household name. This was the piece that really launched Gershwin. And it also started this idea of validation of jazz and blues and spirituals and the African American culture coming into the mainstream. Being combined with classical music. That idea, that crossover, really didn't happen before this, and this is a new thing, and it leads us on then to the big pieces of our concert, which is Florence Price. Price. Yeah, she wrote this piece in 1932, Symphony No. 1 in E minor. That's important. And like Gershwin, she was playing with the idea of jazz, blues, spirituals, and the culture, the African culture, but putting it into a traditional form, a symphony. This is really, she's really trying to push this culture into another culture and seeing how it works. And it was incredibly well received when it was first performed, and it kind of fell out of favor. Things do, and thankfully, it's now really made a resurgence, and it really should be part of the mainstream. So the originality is there. Each movement, first movement, it has 3 beautiful melodies that are kind of based on a bluesy kind of quality or bluesy kind of scales. Second movement is a hymn or a prayer. Third movement is a juba dance, which I'll talk about. And then the last movement, it's just a tour de force. It's just energy. And there's always a last movement problem in a symphony. And it's interesting how she solves that. So the first movement opens like this. Here. This is a bassoon playing a solo at the beginning. Already kind of really rare. E minor, but it has that flattened 7th. If it was really E minor harmonic, it would be. Right, but you've got this stuff. Sounds very similar to another piece that we know, and actually the next melody takes us there. So that's the opening, it stops there, and then in comes the oboe and the clarinet. immediately after that, you hear this. Here's another piece. Any takers? Dvorak New World Symphony, which is also in E minor. Big influence, really, really big influence on Florence Price. And, you know, great artists steal. But there's no doubt in my mind this is an homage. And the melodies that you find in the New World Symphony, which of course, Dvorak, when he came to America, Dvorak basically thought that the spirituals and African American music was going to be the core of the great American music. And that's what the New World Symphony is about. And there's no doubt in my mind that Florence Price studied that score. I mean, I know she did. She studied that score intensely and took so many great ideas from it, including the structure. But that is that little influence in the start. You'll hear it. It's really very obvious, but it's an homage, and it's taking on the tradition and building on it. So that's the first movement. Second movement, yeah, it's a hymn. It's a prayer. Florence Price was also a church organist. She worked as a church organist, and this movement is, yeah, it's this kind of going back to that spiritualism. This is how it sounds. I think those first three notes are actually a hymn. I can't remember which one it is. But it is based on just church music. It's a hymn. But there's something in the background. She actually has a large African drum playing along with it. Playing bum, 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 bum in the background. It's such a wonderful combination of two things that you just don't expect together. And again, it's just that originality. It's just incredibly thoughtful. I'll just say another word about symphonies. Normally they're very structured. The first movement you get the sonata form, which follows a very strict idea. She doesn't really do that. It's more episodic. It's a bit more like the Gershwin. It works. It has a structure of its own, but she's not really following that traditional structure. She's really plowing her own furrows in terms of the structure that she's employing. And I think that the most obvious original element to the whole symphony is the third movement. Normally you find a dance, right? You find minuet, a scherzo. It's a dancing movement. It's pretty light. Instead of a minuet, she puts in what's known as a juba dance. And the juba comes directly from Africa. It is a patting dance, celebrating the sun and marking time. And when it was brought to America, the enslaved people, they weren't allowed to use drums because the plantation owners thought that they would use drumming as a code. So it was banned. So what did they do instead? Well, they had a dance, but they used body rhythm. So they used their body as a drum. And that's what the juba is. And she just goes straight to there for this dance movement. And she doesn't just do it in this symphony, she does it in her third and in her fourth. So it's very clearly, she decided, you know what, it's not going to be a scherzo anymore, it's not going to be a minuet from the European courts of the 18th century, it's going to be the tuba. And it's a very energetic and very cool little, here, I'll play it for you. Got it here, got it teed up. It's so fun. Okay, so we're going to have a dance, but it's not going to be a European dance. It's not going to be your normal, what you expect from a symphony dance. It's going to be this dance. It's going to be a tuba, and it's so much fun. And you actually do feel like getting up and moving, and it's so full of energy. So again, taking something that's traditional, but completely making it her own. Again, validation of her culture, validation of the jazz and the blues, bringing it into the mainstream culture. And that brings us to last movement. And last movement problems in symphonies are common. Most composers have great ideas for a first movement. They know what they're doing with a second movement, it's slow. They know what they're doing with a third movement, it's going to be a dance. What do you do with your last movement? And a lot of symphonies kind of tank a bit in their last movement because the originality runs out. So what does she do? Well, she's very clever. She's just been kind of dissing the Europeans, and then she goes, you know what? I'm going to go back and I'm basically going to steal from Haydn and Mozart. And she does. And it's a jig, but it's just full of energy, and it's just, it's the turn force. It's kind of not serious music. It's just about emotion. And she's decided to go that way until the end. And this is where I really love what this symphony does. She decides she's not going to end this in your typical happy fashion, and she takes her lead, as far as I'm concerned, from another composer who wrote another symphony in E minor. It was his last symphony, it was Brahms. The Brahms Fourth Symphony in E minor. And I'm going to play how the Brahms ends, and then I'm going to play how she ends. And I think there are similarities, because they're both kind of shaking their fists at the end a little bit. It's a little bit angry. It's not quite the happy ending. It ends in E minor, not E major. She stays with it all the way to the end. So this is Brahms, what Brahms does. All the way to the end. Brahms doesn't give up. This is his last work, and he was pretty. There's an anger in it. There's just an edge to it. And this is what Florence does. It's not exactly the same, but I think the ending has the same affect. Right, just a headlong dash to the end, not unrelenting, right? Unforgiving, all the way to the end. There's a little bit of a da-da-da. Same thing, same idea. Now, it may be again yet another homage to Brahms, but the fact that she chose to go that way, I think, shows the seriousness of intent that she had in this piece. It's a serious piece, and it deserves, as you will hear, it deserves to be where it belongs, which is on that stage with an audience listening to it. So thank you all so much for coming. I really hope you enjoyed the concert. This is a great one. Yeah, and I'll see you for the next one. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.